Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend is going well. You can see we got a bit of a new setup. They're updating the main studio here at WCCO. So we're in a side studio here today, but we appreciate you joining us. This, again, is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're here every Saturday, 10 to 11 a.m. on News Talk 830 WCCO, hosted by Mike Overson, Luminate Bank, Scott Walmering, myself, Ryan O'Neill, Brad Sanford, Farmers Insurance in studio today. Scott, good morning to you, buddy.
Yeah, good to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, this is our show. We do it every Saturday. I've done it for about 20 years. Love your feedback and comments during the show. You can just type right on Facebook if you're listening or watching us there, or any of the social media. And 612-294-6949 is how you can join us live on air if you like to.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go live on air, and appreciate your questions, comments, thoughts at any point. Don't hesitate to interrupt us. And Brad, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today.
Good morning. How are you?
Good to see you.
I was putting on this shirt and I was thinking, was I gonna think a guy standing behind a bush?
Here we go. We're live on WCCO again. Thanks for joining us wherever you're catching us on social media. Here we go. Good morning and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Appreciate you joining us. March the 29th, 2025. The Minnesota Real Estate Show, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Walmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill, with the Minnesota Real Estate Team RE/MAX Advantage Plus. This is a live real estate show. We're here at WCCO again every Saturday morning, and we welcome your questions, comments, thoughts. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. 612-294-6949. In studio today, we've got Brad Sanford with Farmers Insurance, and should have a great discussion. Scott, good morning to you, buddy.
Yeah, good to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Big show today. A lot going on in the real estate market. We're going to talk about what that means to you, and if you're considering doing anything this following year. The first 3 months has got off to a kind of a bang. It's we'd think with as much uncertainty there is in interest rates and what's going to go on with the new administration and just all the normal life concerns we have, none of that seems to have affected the market very much.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting time, and again, this first segment, what we do is we dive into the numbers, and so we'll do that just to give you an update. These are year-over-year numbers here in the Twin Cities. Just looking at how is the real estate market doing? New homes for sale in the Twin Cities, actually, there were 4% more properties that came onto the market. That's good news because we don't have many of them for sale. 1,408 new properties. Pending sales shows a year-over-year dip of 1%, 927 pending sales. And then the inventory is up just slightly. There's almost 7,500 homes for sale in the Twin Cities. That median sales price, guys, is still up. It's up about 6% year over year to $380,000. And Scott, it's interesting because we're seeing, and we can see it with the team. Jalen will, who does a great job working with us, will send out different sales updates. Every day you can see 6, 7, 8 new accepted purchase agreements. Things are starting to hit in the market.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it like I said a few weeks ago, it's really hard for me to understand what is really causing the push here. We went from 7.25% interest rates to, I think you'll get into them, I think they're around 6.65, something like that. So that's nice. It's a 0.5% drop, but it's nothing earth shattering. Our inventory, is going up a little bit. So we're at 7,500. Last year, I think we were at like 63, something like that. So there's really no indication of why there is so much pressure. The only thing I can think is that there has, we've been out of the 2.7% now for about 3 years. And at first, no one was moving away from that rate. Well, life changes. You have another kid, maybe you're going to be moving out of state, whatever it is, where you now are engaging. And we had a listing we put on last week in Lakeville, at 425,000, we had 88 showings in the first 2 days, 30 offers, and $120,000 over list price.
That's crazy.
I mean, that was 2022 stuff. Then it made sense because people were buying a house payment. They were buying 2.7%. They didn't really care what the house price was because, people pay. But right now, 6.65. I don't know what is really causing it other than just 3 years of people kind of getting used to that 6-ish, 7. We know we're not going back to 3. I got to do something instead of getting in the market, but it's wild to me that it's happening in such a concise time frame.
Yeah, and again, with the show, again, hosted by Mike Overson, Luminate Bank. They are a local bank. Interest rate update is right, kind of the mid sixes, 6.62, 6.65, 6.75 range on a 30-year fixed. So like Scott said, the rates have stayed pretty similar here. Want to welcome on again, Brad Sanford, Farmers Insurance. Brad, great to have you on always, bud.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Insurance, amidst the uncertainty, insurance rates are rising, aren't they?
Insurance rates are definitely rising. Yeah, they're not going down like interest rates went. And, insurance carriers are trying to find a way to kind of ease the pain a little bit by maybe having people raise their deductibles, add a wind and hail deductible, things like that. So they're making their changes to try and figure out how to help out with what's going on here, but they also want to mitigate the risk also.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can reach us here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Our team, we've had questions that occasionally pop in throughout the week. Scott, we work with people literally all over the state of Minnesota and western Wisconsin. Cabins up north, southern Minnesota, farmland, you name it. We're working with folks, Wisconsin, western Wisconsin as well. A lot of different transactions happening.
Yeah, that reminds me of a different transaction. I actually have a buyer need. We don't do a lot of those on this show because we can normally find it, but this is an unusual one. I have a buyer that is looking for a parking lot in Minneapolis. That is either something that he could buy and use it for a valued parking lot, or if he could buy an existing business that's already there. And for the life of me, in 27 years, I've never been asked to find someone a parking lot. But if anybody knows any inns, or you've got somebody that owns one that wants to sell it, I've got a buyer for it.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can reach us here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're already at the first break, but please don't hesitate to interrupt us. We got a lot to talk about, insurance-wise, real estate-wise, mortgage-wise, and taking your questions, comments, thoughts on anything and everything Minnesota real estate related. We appreciate you joining us. We'll be back after the break.
Is that the first time you've been asked about one of those?
A parking lot. It's kind of an interesting deal.
Yeah. I mean, and it's weird. I've been obviously asked to find lots of businesses during the years, but and I don't even know if it's one of those things like the state fair where, it goes generation to generation. You can't even get in there anymore. Because I'm like, you would think it would be relatively cheap land if you bought it, 50 years ago, and why would you give it up? But anyways, if anybody's got an inn or someone that that would sell, because I can't find anything.
Yeah, it's an interesting market too, just from an investor standpoint. We did a recent seminar this past week. David Meyer did about just buying investment property and kind of helping people through the process. We're actually seeing some investors come out of the woodwork and start to buy things again. I think people were waiting a little bit for rates to drop or something different to happen, but we're actually seeing some investors start purchasing again.
Do you think, because I was thinking about that as well. So if I was an investor that has been on the sidelines because of rates and whatever else, and then you're kind of a prospecting mindset where you believe, for example, the new administration is talking about, interest rates in the next 18 months possibly being below 4%. Well, if I was an investor and let's say I believed that, and I had my crystal ball, so I know rates are going to drop to 4, but I have the ability right now, excuse me, to pay for what it's actually worth. So meaning I can buy something right now that's worth 500.
Sure.
I know it's worth 500. If rates go to 4%, it's going to be 575. And so if I'm placing or if I'm prospecting that that's going to happen, I buy it now and then wait for rates to drop, and then I refinance. Now I bought it for value, and now I've got a cash flow that works.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, you do more than I do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think again, it's a lot of times just purchasing investment property. It's about where you've purchased, the price that you've purchased at. A lot of people think, hey, prices are high right now. The reality of it is prices are not going down.
No.
We have such a shortage of inventory in the Twin Cities, all types of property, all areas. I mean, your buyer need for a parking lot, but I mean, all kinds of stuff. Just people trying to find their first house, trying to find a condo, trying to find a single family. There's just not a lot of homes for sale. It's almost, the other day I was driving and I was down in New Prague and I saw a for sale sign and I was just like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It was a weird feeling that came over me. Like somebody's selling, you know what I mean? It was just,
Well, and what's weird about it is if you go to a cocktail party,
yeah,
everyone's like, oh, you must be loving life. The market's been so great, and they do that because my neighbor's house went up and sold in one day, and I said,
Sure.
do you have any other neighbors' houses for sale? And they're like, no. I said, that's the problem. Yeah, everything is selling quickly because there's nothing out there, but there's just not a whole lot of them to sell.
yeah, it's a weird time, Brad. It's
Do investors look for a specific type of building, type of home, like a duplex, a
little bit of
fourplex?
everything.
Oh, okay.
Little
So
bit of everything. You got
single
people,
family too.
yeah, some people that will be more buy and hold. We're gonna buy something, hold on to it long term. We're gonna, a certain amount of cash flow, rates of return on cash flow. Maybe it's fix and flip. Hey, we want to buy a property, put money into it, and then flip it to build some capital. So it's a mix of everything. We do as a team, we do a little bit of everything on it.
Yeah,
but
and there's not a lot of fix and flip going on.
Yeah.
I mean, buying and holding, again, I think it doesn't matter what you do, because if your mindset is to hold it, you're going to have fluctuations in the market over the next 20 years. It doesn't really matter.
Sure.
But when you're buying something at the top of the market, and right now you're paying the top of the market. We've been in a 3 to 5 to 6% appreciation, so it's harder to flip.
Don't be
And
such
that's
a
my-
downer.
I know. That'd be downer.
Here we go. Hey, during the break, I just said, Scott, don't be such a downer about that. I like giving we got to give each other a bad time a little bit in life,
Absolutely. We were discussing investment property.
Yeah.
And is it a good time to buy investment property right now? And of course, Ryan, coming from Gumbo or Candyland, has got all the sugar showers and everything going on. But what I was saying is, right now, if you're buying long term, a hold, it's always a good idea to do that, because if it's a 20-year hold, you're going to go through all kinds of real estate markets.
Yeah.
But right now, it is hard to make money on a fix and flip, because you are paying the top end of the market before you put money in, and then have to get the real high top. So it gets a little tougher to do flips and flips.
Yeah, fix and flips. Again, a lot of times what your agent's going to be doing, what we do is help people find stuff off market, perhaps. There's a lot of different techniques to find that property. And actually, there's some bank-owned listings as well, and some bank-owned inventory that's popping up on the MLS as well. But Scott, you're good points. Good points.
Thank you. Well, every week I go, God, I hope Ryan tells me I have a good point today.
Yeah,
that's my goal for the weekend.
I mean, come on here. Hey, Brad, we got Brad Sanford Farmers Insurance with us, and we are live here every Saturday morning. Love talking about all things real estate related. We were just lamenting a little bit about the lack of inventory, and I was down in good old New Prague this week, driving, and I saw a for sale sign, and there was this weird feeling that came over me, like, wow, they're selling.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually selling. It's just the last 2 years, if you're in this business, there's not a lot of people selling. And so it was an odd feeling, guys. And I had to laugh, because I'm just like, yeah, somebody's selling their house. That's good.
Yeah, like we were talking off air, you could be at a cocktail party and people are like, oh, you must have loved the last couple of years in real estate. It's been incredible. My neighbor's house sold in 2 seconds. And I was like, well, were there any others for sale in your neighborhood? And they're like, no. I said, yeah, that's the problem. So yes, everything is sold in multiple offers. Everything sells quickly, just not as much selling. So it's been pretty tough.
I had a texter. Again, join us by phone or text 612-294-6949. Said, guys, what's your number one credit tip for buying a house? Your number one credit tip maybe sounds like they need to improve their credit or get their credit in a better spot. Do you have one, Scott? A top credit tip?
Yeah, well, I mean, the top credit kit, or I can't talk today, but it is to not hold more than I think it's 8%, not to hold more than 8% on a credit card. That hurts you the most. So having balances that you continually hold on credit cards over and over and over again really affect your credit score. And then also, people don't understand this: missing a $3 Target credit card payment is the same thing as missing your mortgage payment. So 30-day lates are extremely important because people think, well, I only owe $15 on that Target card and I just missed a $2 payment. It doesn't matter. The credit agencies just know you missed a payment. Now it's a 30-day late.
Yeah, payment on time.
Payment on time.
I would say for the number one tip, I would say is payment on time. If you're a younger person starting to build credit, Brad, I think is important, to think about that if you are looking to purchase a home, because they're a lender like Luminate Bank's going to look and say, hey, let's take a look at their credit profile. Let's pull their report. What do you think, Brad? You think about a number one tip?
Well, having been a banker before, I can tell you the first thing you want to do is make sure everything's on time. You're paying everything on time. You also want to make sure when you're talking about credit that understanding what credit card companies want. They want interest, right? You're a risk to them, and they want to receive money for that. So as Scott said, if you can only put 2% on a credit card, that's great. My recommendation would never go above 50%. Try and stay below 33%.
Yeah.
Put something that is not your everyday expense on a credit card, like maybe a couple tires, and then pay them off over 3 or 4 months. Because what you've told the credit card company is you didn't have the money, you borrowed it, you understood you had to pay it back longer than 20 years, and you paid it back in a short amount of time, and they made interest. Everybody's happy. Your credit score will continue to go up. You're a good risk. That's how you build a credit score.
Yeah, and another interesting question. Tips for buying a condo. Tips for buying a condo. I think association fees are really important as far as a tip.
That's the biggest one.
Yeah, so you and your agent are going to review all the condo documents to review the health of the association, any rules about the association, pets, rental restrictions, etc. How's the insurance looking? Looking at those condo docs, Brad?
Look at your loss assessment, what the requirement is for the association for you to carry, because you insure the inside, they insure the outside. So loss assessment, a lot of times right now, insurance companies are asking for 50,000. It'll raise your insurance a little bit, but it won't be a major amount. But it's good to know.
Well, and make sure that you know your neighbors. I used to live in a condo, and I put a skylight in, and my upstairs neighbor was so ticked. So you need to know.
You're just a gosh.
Yeah, you need to know your neighbors.
I think Scott's mic may have phased out there a little bit, Brad.
Skylight went up a
It's
few levels there, didn't it?
what's interesting though is you do think about, you have to remember though, when you're buying a condo or a townhome, getting to know the association, understanding and reviewing those condo documents. In Minnesota, you've got 10 days from the receipt of all those where you can review the documents, look at it, check the health of the association. Those are important things to know, because a lot of times, here's one other thing to Scott's point, maybe with the, I've had this happen over the years, clients are more of a quiet sleeper, or they're not used to noise, and they're in a building where they're hearing a lot of walking. They're hearing the walls are not what they've, those types of things. Again, if you haven't lived in that setting, you need to think about that, Brad.
And if you have damage to your condominium, who controls the process? I've run into a lot of problems with that, where the claims adjuster wants to control the process, but the condominium association says, nope, we'll bring in who we want and you will pay us this.
Well, and more importantly, overall, whether you're buying a townhome or a condo, are you an association person? Can you do it? So I've had a lot of clients that, they want to downsize and they lived on acreage, and now they're going to a condo or townhome project, and they hate the rules. Well, unfortunately, the rules are there to make sure that the condos stay up to date, that it's not overrun with a bunch of garbage, and you got your RV parked in your driveway. All that stuff's not going to fly. So some people are just they're not built to work under an association.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. Brad, how much are insurance rates going up? I mean, just generally speaking, are people getting their renewal policies and they're like, wow, it's another 10% jump? I mean, or what are you seeing?
I was talking to an industry expert, and he was telling me that there are several carriers that have just added a 25% increase. One of them,
25%.
very large company just took a very large increase. One of the largest is having problems in California, and so they said they had a bigger loss than they actually did, and so they were asking for a big rate increase, and that would have been 40% if you're in California. So a lot of insurance carriers are reeling from all these storms and all of the damage that is happening, the fires and all of that, and so they're going back to us being part, like self-insuring, where you're liable for more of a deductible than what you would have been previously.
Guys, is it worth putting higher end appliances in a Metro Lake home? Would it help resale in the value range is $1 million plus? Having some nicer appliances in there, Scott, would it help resale?
In $1 million plus?
Yes.
In $1 million plus, there's an expectation of your appliances throughout the property. So you're not going to throw Whirlpool appliances in $1.5 million house. Do you have to go out and get Wolf? Do you have to go out and get? No, you don't have to go out and get Wolf. But a better updated, a better higher end appliances within range. Again, you got to understand. I've talked about this a zillion times. When you're building a house, windows are the biggest thing. So I've been on the new construction end from and they come in. Well, what windows are we going to use? Windows. Fast forward 3 years, I have $1.5 million buyer walking through the same house. They're like, oh, cool, new windows. That's it. So it's always on the expectation of what stage you're at. Windows are this huge thing building. And then when you go to sell it, they're like, oh, cool, they're new. Same with appliances. When you're going through and you're building, oh, I want a Sub-Zero fridge and I want Wolf appliances. And that's all great because you're spending your money. When you go to sell it, oh, good, the appliances are updated.
Yeah, good point. Really good point. It is that expectation. I think it's just an expectation. We've got a good link. We're happy to share this with you as well. That is a industry. It shows an average return by parts around the country. And this particular company that generated this report, it's Midwest related. It shows the return on different improvements. We're happy to share that with you. Just don't hesitate to reach out or contact us by email or text too.
And we talk about this, Ryan, all the time, where we'll get hey, we're planning on selling in 6 months and we're thinking about renovating our kitchen. Or we're planning on selling in 6 months, we're thinking about finishing our basement. And the easiest rule of thumb, without getting into what is the best returns are actually obviously carpet, paint, whatever, but oh, I lost my train of thought.
You lost your train of thought.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say a Wolf type refrigerator. That's probably a great tip, right? Because you have caviar taste, but you're living in a $400,000 house. Maybe that doesn't go together. I never thought of that.
Yeah. We'll continue the discussion. We are up against a break here. And so we are going to do that. Before we break, Jennifer Tischlitter, great agent on the Minnesota real estate team, RE/MAX Advantage Plus, has one down in Jordan. 1077 Shoreview Drive in Jordan for $464,990. She said it is better than new construction. It was just built in 2022, backs up to a pond, so there's no neighbors, very peaceful. It's got 4 bedrooms in the upper level, a 3-car garage where you can, they do have a hookup for an electric vehicle, and there's an unfinished basement and a room for a 5th bedroom. A great Bridle Creek neighborhood with community park and pool. 1077 Shoreview Drive in Jordan. Be sure to check that one out. A little under $465,000. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show.
I remember my thought. What I was saying is it doesn't matter what you're doing if you just use the perfect thing. So kitchens, you get one of your biggest returns in. But if you did it perfect, you get about 65 to 70%. So of course, if you're planning on selling in 6 months, putting a new kitchen in your house to sell it, where you're only going to get, if you did it absolutely the perfect way, you're only going to get 65% coming back your way is not a good choice. Same with basement. Basements are much less than that.
Yeah, good thoughts. Brad, is Farmers seeing a 25% increase? Are you guys seeing that, or has there been a
I think we've probably seen 25 over the last couple of years. We were one of the first ones to raise our rates because we saw it coming, right? And so they've raised their rates a couple times, but I would say we're probably right in the market right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've always looked at that with insurance. It would be tough because, especially health insurance, I always looked at it as, okay, you're paying this amount. It only takes a small percentage of people to have, catastrophic stuff going on where I've never been able to figure out the math. It's like, because I've got friends that, their hospital bills, are 150, 200 grand a month, some more, plus their medication. And I mean, that eats up thousands of people, making their one deductible.
What do you mean their medical bills are 100,000 a month?
They've got a chronic, chronic illness, cancer. They need expensive medicine, and and if we're all paying $500 a month for our premium, well, if you have a $200,000 a month patient, that eats up thousands of premiums. So it's always been amazing to me how it's as profitable as it is because it doesn't take much.
well, and the inner baseball of insurance is that insurance companies create a portfolio and they have a certain type of customer that they want. And then they fill that portfolio, that bucket with all of the clients, and they expect a certain amount of losses. When they get too many losses, they start another pool of insureds. And so it's that's how they manage it.
Huh.
But you have to apply and there's all kinds of different things you got to do. So yeah, it's one of those things where you definitely have to manage the costs coming out of your pool.
Yeah, any agents or brokers listening or watching, what are you seeing in this market for your buyers or for your sellers? Has this been, again, I'm hearing a lot of multiple offers, a lot of buyer needs. Are you finding a similar thing? What are you seeing for your sellers? We've been hearing of some sellers that are sitting, that are on the market. And again, the easy rule of thumb always is price related. It is always price related, and it's hard for sellers to hear that sometimes, guys.
Yeah, well, I use the example of the one we put on for 425,000 that got 130 over asking price. That was a strategic listing. It was strategic. Obviously, we didn't miss a price by 100 grand. So it was strategic given the situation of these particular sellers, and it works. Now that will freak out. Luckily, these guys were long-term radio listeners, so they knew the drill of why you do that. Very hard for a lot of sellers to understand that. So the mindset is still out there for people, even though it's completely wrong. We want to go aggressive in our price because we can negotiate a little bit, and then we're going to come to this number, not understanding that number is way less than if your home had sold in the first week.
Craig, we appreciate the question. Hopefully that helped regarding the appliances itself. Definitely would do them as well. Just don't expect, again, a huge bang for your buck from a resale standpoint. Presentation is important. People walking through, seeing the property. Hey, is that everything look kind of dialed in? So we hope that helps. Hey, we're going back live on air. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Welcome back to the second half of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Appreciate you joining us. Hope your weekend is going well. You can join us at any point, 612-294-6949. Had a texter who said we've had an investment property for over 20 years. It's paid for, worth about $350,000. What are the best ways we could save some tax money when we sell the property a few years from now? You could do what's called a 1031 exchange, where you're selling that property and essentially taking it and then reinvesting it into another property. We work with a number of local companies. There's a guy named Jeff Peterson, who is
Professor 1031.
Professor 1031, who is a great 1031 expert. The 1031 exchange is an option, but for a normal seller, you have to realize as well, if you do just sell that, what happens, and you don't do a 1031 exchange, is you are taxed both on the gain of the property, but then you're also taxed in what's called depreciation recapture based on the amount that you've depreciated it. And so without doing the 1031, you are going to get taxed on that, and be sure to talk to your CPA to see your specific situation. But a 1031 is a really good option, Scott, for people to consider.
Yeah, I mean, what a lot of people don't understand is you've been depreciating that property since you bought it. So what is the depreciation at now? 22 years?
It is at 27 and a half years
27
for
and a half.
residential real estate.
Yeah, so 27 and a half years, which essentially means when you bought the property for whatever number, 27 and a half years, the property is worth nothing. Well, then you sell it for $350,000. And people are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I bought it for 200. Well, you bought it for 200, but you've taken that great tax break every year for 27 years. And now it's gone down to being worth what it is. And now that's your gain.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949. Brad, sorry.
Which, can I say, just stinks,
It
right?
does stink.
Because we all want to have a home. That's our biggest investment. We want to pay it off so that when we retire, we have this 350, or if it has a Wolf refrigerator, this
300, 490. No, not that much.
Well, again, this is an investment property, though, not a primary
okay,
residence.
okay.
So difference, if it's your own home.
You can have a gain
Thank God.
you can have a gain up to 500 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
these are just investment
so
properties.
because
So
it's an investment.
yeah, you and your wife can gain up to $500,000 after all your write-offs of living there, every nail you put in the house, every paint you put in the house, and then that becomes your gain. This is different because you're buying an investment property, you're depreciating it, saying it's getting less in value every year for 27 years, and you've taken all those great tax breaks. Well, now you got a property that's basically worth nothing, and you're selling it for 350.
One other thing that I was just going to share on this is, again, a lot of families will keep properties within family, use estate planning where there's what's called a step up in basis. So if you don't sell it, you keep it, you pass away, your heirs get the property. There are some significant tax advantages with a step up in basis that allows you to eliminate the tax. And so again, important to talk to a good estate attorney. Matt Engel is part of our show, mnrealestateshow.com. Matt does a wonderful job. Good to talk to a very good CPA as well. Yeah.
I got a question for you. So back in the day, and it's been a while since I've done a lot of investment property, but you could move into that property. So you've had it as a rental property for 20 years, and now you want to sell it. You could move into that as your primary residence, live there 2 years, and then be able to sell it and avoid taxes. You used to be able to do that. I'm asking because I don't know if you can still do that.
Yeah, you can. But again, of course, our friends at the IRS watch for this thing. Exactly.
Well, I'm asking, can you do it legally? I'm saying, because back then you could do it. You could also do a 1031 into a residence that you were going to live in, and then you could live there for 2 years and avoid all the gain. But they got tougher on that in 2008. I just can't remember what came.
Yeah, if you are a CPA, feel free to call in on this because I don't 100% know, but I do think that knowing maybe the way the IRS thinks is that it's probably from the time you moved into it. Moving forward would be the tax-free gain versus everything that you've depreciated over the years.
Yeah, because back in the day, real quickly, I had a client of mine that was selling his place on the Whitefish chain, and he had a $700,000 gain. So we did a 1031 exchange from his Whitefish property to a house on Prior Lake. Okay, so they exchanged it. So all the money, the 700 grand, went into that new one, pays no tax on it. Now he lives there for 2 years. Now it's his primary residence. So $500,000 is removed, and he can only be taxed on the remaining 200 grand. That was a thing you used to be able to do. I know they shut that particularly down in 2008. I just don't know if they got tougher on everything else.
Hey, Brad, what else? I want to be sure we get to any other tips, thoughts, strategies from an insurance standpoint. Brad is our longtime partner at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Other thoughts, tips, strategies, owners, sellers, buyers in our market?
You know, for insurance, it's springtime, so it's that time to talk to your insurance agent. So doing a homeowner's policy annual checkup is a good thing to do. Make sure that your personal property is replacement cost value, not actual cost value. Scott's shirt that he wears is worth $50 now. He bought it for $500. You want it replaced, at the $500, not the $50.
How would you know that as an owner?
On the tag, it says 500 or 475. I bought it on sale. Is that what you're asking?
No, you know what I mean? Like as an owner on your policy, how do you know that?
It will say replacement cost value or actual cash value. So
Okay.
RCV or ACV.
Okay.
And then I one of these things that the conversations you guys just had, WCCO has to sign you to like a Kirk Cousins contract, because that was very valuable stuff right there. Knowing that my home that I bought, I can only appreciate 500,000. I'm gonna pay taxes out of that. That's wonderful information. Much like a homeowner's policy or a renter's policy, if you get your car broken into, so this is all for all the young kids or people that are renting. If you get your car broken into and you have stuff stolen or stuff damaged that you want replaced, if you don't have a renter's policy or a homeowner's policy, which pays for that, you're out that money. So you want to make sure that you, and you can bundle, so you want to make sure that you have a renter's policy. And that may not be a big whirlwind of information, but some people that I've talked to lately didn't know that. So that kind of helped. And then, checking your liability limit on your home, making sure that if someone trips and falls and blames you, that you're covered for the adequate amount. A lot of home policies will go up to $1 million. The typical is 300,000. Renter's policy is 100,000 typically. It's what it defaults to. So if you want to make sure that you have a little bit extra coverage, you can do that. And then with the prices rising right now, just kind of look at your deductibles and see what you can handle. What's the first line of defense? You wouldn't claim anything over 1,500, over 2,500, 5,000. Sometimes that will make a big difference for you in the premium.
That's a big deal. I think the deductible,
Yeah.
people don't think about that, and considering increasing your deductible, using the insurance more for kind of a calamity of the worst case scenario. Now, again, you've got to be able to weather that. The person's got to have the funds to do that, but it's a way, something to think about with your insurance, because those insurance costs can be a lot like anything.
Because that's right where the carriers are moving to right now. They're moving to more of a self-insured percentage than them taking on the full nut. So, yep.
Yeah. Hey, before the break, wanted to hit on one other listing. Ashley Hineker has got a great one. This is a duplex, Scott. It's 3604 East 56th Street. And one of the units is rented out at $1,600 a month. The other one is ready for either rental or owner occupancy. There's a price of $539,000, and she's doing open houses today, Saturday, Sunday, from 12 to 2. And again, it's a side-by-side duplex. She said there's a 2-story unit, which is the owner-occupied one. It has great hardwood floors, gourmet kitchen, updated appliances, private fenced backyard, separated 2-car garage. And then you've got the single-story unit as well, which is 2 bedrooms, rented at $1,600 a month. There is actually an unfinished basement too, so there's extra storage and 2 separate laundry rooms. Great location. Check this one out. Again, not a lot of duplexes pop on the market. 3604 East 56th Street is that one. Yeah, check that one out. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show.
So what is the definition of a gourmet kitchen? So how can you call one house having a gourmet kitchen and another one not? Is it the cook?
That's
Good point.
Chef, yeah.
I mean, because we use it all the time.
We
It
do,
is
right?
a gourmet kitchen.
It's a really good
And
point.
I've always thought, well, what defines it? Is it having 2 ovens? Is it having a gas stove?
Being able to pour water from the wall.
Yes, having a little wall
Yeah.
thing. Water
Isn't
thing.
that? It's a very good point.
Yeah.
That brings up a point. The descriptions we use or agents use for properties. I personally am a fan more of a little less flour and more just content.
Yeah.
Because people don't want that.
No.
They don't want
This
AI 15 generated adjective.
This 800 square foot Rambler is sprawling. You can go to the West Wing with your folks. I've seen some stuff through the years. You're like, really? That's incredible.
Yeah.
That you'll never duplicate this split level in Farmington again. It's a one of a kind.
Well, and as a realtor, do you guys guide your people through the home, or do you let them look and then answer questions? How do you guys do that?
If I'm on a personal showing, where we're going in for a showing, I don't lead them, but I do walk with them to talk. If it's at an open house, I let them do their thing, and then if they have any questions at the end. But yeah, normally your buyers, if you're out there on a showing with them, they're looking for your input. And I was asked once, I was doing a panel thing with other agents, and one of the agents asked me, "How do you close your clients?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I show them one house. If they don't like that, I show them another house. And eventually I show them one that they like. And I point out the negatives in most of the homes we see on the reason that they should consider passing, so that when I actually see one that makes sense and I say, hey, you might want to pay attention to this one, they pay attention to it, because I'm not trying to sell them every stupid house we walk into. I'm doing the opposite. So eventually at house number 5 or house number 25, and you say, hey, you might want to pay attention to this one, they pay attention to it.
Yeah, again, the TV shows where you're
Oh, I
seeing people
can't
talk
watch them.
about is a little bit much. I think there's an argument on maybe a super expensive property or something's got really unusual amenities that maybe you couldn't visually notice. But nobody wants that. No one wants the furniture salesman kind of just following you around, the whole time. And so, there's probably not much of that happens in the market.
Yeah, I mean, number one home killer is backing up to a busy road. Number 2 is having the seller there,
Yeah,
like that wants to be there for showings. But I'll tell you what,
it's good to have the seller.
but yeah, but I'll tell you what, 3, 4, 5, I guarantee you having an agent there, having the listing agent there. Like I won't take a listing if they want me to physically be in the house and show, because they won't sell. People hate it. Now now an upper bracket listing, sometimes because of alarm systems and whatever, I'll meet them, let them go in the home and I'll stay in the driveway. But man, oh man, you want to have an uncomfortable showing, have another agent walking around showing you the linen closets.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is one of my new clients, they both were telling me that they weren't quite sure whether they were going to buy it or not because the realtor didn't tell them about the home. So that must be the biggest thing you guys have to do, is kind of read them to find out, does this
Interesting.
person want me to guide them? Do they want information, or do they want to do it themselves?
Well, I think there's 2 things. One is when you walk into a house, you want to feel yourself living there. That doesn't need explanation. Showing number 2, you get into specifics of, hey, did you notice this? Because you already know they like the house, but
It's kind of like going on a date.
All right. Well,
Here we go.
it's been a while.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope you're having a great weekend, everybody. Got to touch on another nice listing down in Northfield, 805 Haywood Road. Susan Mall has this listed for $750,000. 4-bed, 4-bath, 2-car garage. It's got a grand entrance, she says, a chef's kitchen, granite countertops, walkout lower level, move-in ready. A very nice deck on that one. Check that out, 805 Haywood Road in Northfield. And then one last one here, Sue Marty Scott has one in Chanhassen, 2961 Highwood Drive for $799,900. And it is an executive luxury twin home in Chanhassen. And 3-bed, 3-bath, open concept. It's got a ton of great updates on this one. Huge south-facing deck, plenty of space for barbecuing and entertaining. Again, check that out, 2961 Highwood Drive, Chanhassen, $799,900. Both of those properties listed with the Minnesota Real Estate Team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus. Check those out. Scott, Brad, we're in our final segment, guys. What do you think as we head to the home stretch?
well, maybe Brad, kick some information out about you so people want to use you and get in with the best insurance agent.
Yeah, how do people reach out?
Again, they can call Scott or Ryan and they will refer you on, or they can go to the MinnesotaRealEstateShow.com, MinnesotaRealEstateTeam.com, and they can see my listing on there. I just wanted to give a shout out to Erin, one of my clients. She listens to us every Saturday. She loves you too. And
Who does she love more?
what did she say? Well, the way Ryan just walked us through those 2 listings, I mean, that was
It was magic. It was magical.
Yeah.
It was magical. You know what?
It was like a date.
Side note for whoever's still watching who has watched Ted Lasso, and is Ryan O'Neal not Ryan Lasso? Ted Lasso's the sweetest guy.
Oh.
Everything has a better way to look at it. I'm like, I feel like I'm watching frickin' Ryan.
Ted Lasso. I haven't really watched Ted Lasso, but I, again, as we head to the home stretch, Brad, we really do appreciate everything that you do. It's important insurance wise. If you're buying a home, selling a home, you got to plug in with a good insurance agent. you need to have him or her on your contacts and have their phone number, their cell phone, to be able to have a conversation, Brad, about stuff and just the changes. Things are affecting folks. If you're a homeowner right now, you need to talk to your insurance agent.
And you're making the biggest purchase of your life, supposedly. So you want to make sure you have experts like you guys, like myself, like Mike Overson, to walk you through the process.
Hey, before we leave, I did want to throw this out. The National Association of Realtors, Scott, came out with a rule this past week, new flexibility for sellers that gives them a delay period in which sellers and their agents can keep their properties from being marketed publicly through IDX, which is called, or syndication. So what that means is that you could go live on the MLS and withhold it
From Realtor.com,
Zillow,
Trulia,
Realtor.com, all of these places. There's big hubbub going on. A lot of talk in the industry about this. What's going to happen? How this is going to affect Zillow, all these other companies. It's an interesting time, Scott. It's a big rule change.
It is, and the back part of this is realtors don't like Zillow. Basically, what Zillow and all these places came in, 10, 15 years ago, they took all of our information that we already had on MLS, controlled the internet, and sold it back to us. So with that said, I don't like the fact that that was done. However, I would have a real hard time ethically and personally to tell my seller that we're not going to be advertised on Zillow or any of the other sites, because in today's age, it wouldn't sit well with me. I understand the premise behind it. Nobody likes them. We know what they've done to our industry, but unfortunately, they kind of control the money right now.
And I think a lot of it, Brad, is just there's many different types of sellers in the market. That some who want more of a private sale, maybe sellers who are, whether they're high profile, they've got sensitive situations. Some who don't want, want the whole avoiding showings. There's a lot of different. Right now, we can do what's called a withheld listing, which means that it's not on MLS. It's not publicly marketed. So without going into too much detail and losing folks, it's there's a lot of different situations and scenarios, but this is a big change because right now, if you go live on the MLS, you are required to send it out to all these websites. That is no longer happening.
When you first said it, I was like, well, why not? Why wouldn't you want to put it out there? But after thinking about it, is it to give, like you guys, the largest real estate team in Minnesota, is it to give your fellow realtors a chance to sell the property? Is that
Well,
possible?
I mean, everything, and I know realtors get a bad rap, just above car salesmen. But I'll tell you what, it's true. In my lifetime, I mean, less than 1% of people are actually out for the money, not looking out for their sellers. So I think this thing is everyone's looking out for their sellers. And to not have it advertised everywhere it could possibly be, in my opinion, is a disservice.
It's been a great show. We didn't get to some questions that have come in. One that just came about at 10:31. We will get back to you on that here after the show. But it's been a fun show. Brad, great job, buddy.
Thanks. I enjoyed being here with you guys as usual.
As usual.
Yeah, Brad Sanford, Farmers Insurance. Scott, good job, buddy.
Yeah, you too. Everybody enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Ryan, good job, buddy. Thanks, friend. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Oh, Ryan.
Hey, we appreciate Ryan being here. I hope you all have a great weekend. And again, please reach out at any point. We're here to help you buying, selling, investing in real estate. We've got agents literally all over Minnesota, Western Wisconsin. We're here to help you and to work with you on your timeline. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take care. Thanks for joining us on social media. Thank you all for the kind comments. Julie, Jen, Craig, Steph, Mark, Tom, we really appreciate it. Hey, what?
It's the romper room.
Yeah, we appreciate you all. Thank you for your kind note and comments. I think we're going to be back in the new studio the other studio next weekend.
Good.
Prepare, Brad.
Yes.
Prepare for that. Scott, thank you for keeping your language appropriate.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I black out this hour. Now I'm back to being.
We did have one quick story to share with you all. We were on another station, and Scott, during the breaks, occasionally likes to
emphasize.
And so there was some off color, and we were not on social media at the time, and Scott did this, and our board operator at the time wasn't happy and said to you what?
He said, hey, can you keep your voice down? You know, all the mics are live. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The mics aren't live. That's freaking weird. I mean, so anyways, it was not a good interaction. It was just dumb. I mean, none of the mics were live, for crying out loud.
Hey, we appreciate you joining us. Thanks, everybody. Hope you had some fun, laughs, picked up a good tip or two, and we'll be back next weekend. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.